We're starting off with the latest from Sri Lanka, where Ranil Wickremesinghe has taken oath as the new Sri Lankan Prime Minister. The former United National Party Member of Parliament has assumed office for the 6th time. The newly sworn-in leader visited the Valakkuramaya temple in Colombo right after taking oath at the President's house. The decision of appointing Ranil Wickremesinghe as the new Prime Minister comes 2 days after Mahinda Rajapaksa stepped down amid the ongoing economic crisis and political unrest in the island nation. The former Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa put out a tweet congratulating the new Prime Minister. Earlier, Wickremesinghe held a closed-door discussion with the President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, after which the speculation of him assuming office became rife. Wickremesinghe, now a 6th-time Prime Minister, is leading an all-party government in Sri Lanka with the support of the Sri Lanka Porojana Peramona. Wickremesinghe lost the parliamentary elections in 2020 and later entered the parliament through the single national list seat that was secured by his United National Party, which he joined in 1994. He also served as a leader of the opposition between 1994 and 2001 and from 2004 to 2015. Wickremesinghe has assumed office at a time when the country is reeling under severe economic concerns and prolonged protests by the citizens have rocked the country. Will the new Prime Minister be able to rein in the challenges is the immediate question.
Because finally it's a matter for Parliament, the person who commands.
And with us on the broadcast is former Deputy Governor, Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. W.A. Vijayawardena. Thanks very much for being here with us. Your initial reaction to Ranil Wickremesinghe now being appointed once again as the country's Prime Minister. He has vowed to fix the country's economy, but what are the immediate steps according to you?
Well, of course, it's a good sign that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has appointed a Prime Minister to run Sri Lanka, because we didn't have a government and nor did we have a cabinet to run the country. But of course, the immediate action that he has to take is that Sri Lanka does not have any foreign exchange balance available in the formal sources. Therefore, we are having enormous difficulties in getting the essential foods, medicine, fuel, cooking gas, and inputs for industries. And as a result, his immediate task would be to have a cabinet of ministers appointed. And with that cabinet of ministers, he will have to get some assistance from some of the friendly countries like India and China to get a good import program for Sri Lanka to provide relief to the people who are suffering right now. So that's an enormous challenge, because India has already supported Sri Lanka to the extent of $1.5 billion. And if we try to get more support from India, it will be too much for India. So as a result, it will actually be a gigantic or Herculean task for Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to get this support and provide relief to the suffering people of Sri Lanka.
Right. So according to you, this is what needs to happen immediately. But what is your assessment of why all of this did not happen so far?
Because the main reason has been that the government had for a long period of time refused to go to IMF and also had tried to keep the exchange rate fixed at an artificial level of 100, 200 rupees per US dollar. And as a result, there was a shortage of foreign exchange in the market. And when the government started going to IMF and also allowing the exchange rate to fall in the market, there was a massive and a lucrative black market developed in the country for foreign exchange. So because of all these reasons, government has not been able to provide this particular support to Sri Lanka. Now, of course, it is the duty of Ranil Wickremesinghe to do the impossible and provide relief to the suffering people of the country.
And you are optimistic that will happen from here onwards?
Well, of course, his appointment has already run into stormy weathers because what has happened is the civil society leaders have already disapproved of his appointment as the prime minister because he had been brought to parliament from the back door as a nationalist MP because he lost the election in 2020, and also he has only one membership. And what they say is that he had been the prime minister 5 times before, and he had been a failure on all those 5 occasions. So as a result, it is unlikely that he will get massive support from all the parties involved in parliament. So far, he had been congratulated only by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who has appointed him, Mahinda Rajapaksa, who had just resigned as the prime minister, Namal Rajapaksa, son of Mahinda Rajapaksa, all people belonging to the Sri Lanka Podujana Party headed by Mahinda Rajapaksa. So it doesn't seem that he will get the support of all the political parties in parliament. So if he cannot marshal this support, it's very unlikely that he can survive as a prime minister.
And would you not say that for all of these reforms to happen on the ground, Gotabaya Rajapaksa, his leadership, which has come under scrutiny time and again, will continuously be questioned, and the people will continue to demand his resignation?
Well, what would happen is that the protesters are already, they have announced that they will continue with the Gota Go Home protest campaign, which demands President Gotabaya Rajapaksa to step down, and also for the Sri Lanka Podujana Party, which had been running the country for the last 2.5 years, to step down. So that political protest campaign will continue. But what would happen is that if Gotabaya Rajapaksa doesn't step down, the whole blame would be placed on Ranil Wickremesinghe, who now has to rescue this country from the economic debt to which it has fallen.
What would your message be to the people of Sri Lanka at this point, especially to those who have been out on the streets?
Well, my message is that they will have to give a chance to the new Prime Minister, allow him to start working on a predetermined and also pre-announced, transparent program of reform. But if he fails to come out with such a program, of course, even my message to the people who are protesting outside in the streets will not be heard by them. But of course, it's up to Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to come up with a new program of action, because so far he has been silent on that. It has been a secret. It's like a black box. So as long as it remains a black box, there is the likelihood that Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe will not be supported by people outside in the streets.
Right. We're leaving it there for the moment. Dr. Wijewardena, thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast with those perspectives and your assessment of what's playing out on the ground. Now, the new Sri Lankan Prime Minister, Ranil Wickremesinghe, is known for his pro-India stance. While in office, he took significant steps to enhance ties with India. Earlier, in a conversation with our correspondent Dasani Athoda, Wickremesinghe called New Delhi an important ally of Colombo. Listen in.
How much of India does Sri Lanka need, and how do you think the present government is handling India as a country and as an ally to Sri Lanka?
Unless the 22 million of us take one portion of land and take this country out of the South Asian, the Indian subcontinent, we and India have to live together. We are two sides of the same coin. In fact, our relations, culturally our relations with South India and Tamil Nadu is much stronger than Tamil Nadu's relations with Delhi or half the Indian states. We deal with Kerala. So it's very, very strong views. We've do business with Mumbai, Delhi. It's a cultural one. I mean, basically it's not something that can be dealt the way we do our relations with other countries. Yeah. I suppose you can't stop Canada and USA even having relations, though Canadians are quite different from the US politically and culturally. It's like that for that's only about 300 years. These for about 2,000 years or more. We don't know. All we know is that we can trace it back is the Mohenjo-daro civilization. It could have been gone much below, longer than that.
WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.